What's up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, right here on episode 2 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We got a lot of things to cover right here on episode 2 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast. I have been gone for like 2 weeks, mainly because of the fact I have been busy with college. College has been kicking my ass, but we got a lot of things to cover right here on the show. We got things to talk about, like Jon Moxley signing an extension with AEW, which is a very, very big deal. We also got the Sammy Guevara and Andrade fight to talk about. Absolutely ridiculousness is what this whole story is all about. We got our WWE Extreme Rules 2022 predictions as well, and a bunch of other stuff to talk about right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. But before we get on with anything, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Also, the WrestleHavoc Podcast is also available on audio platforms. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Anchor, and Google Podcasts. So if you guys want to check out the WrestleHavoc Podcast in audio format, it is available on all of those platforms. Now, when it comes to the Raw, Dynamite, and Smackdown reviews, I am not sure if I'm going to be continuing those reviews. I'll probably let you guys know, but as of right now, I'm extremely busy when it comes to school and all that stuff. So realistically, I'm probably going to give you guys a recap on this show, every week. But we'll see. We'll see where the individual reviews will go by. But I will say this, my Extreme Rules review, I will be covering Extreme Rules, and hopefully I will be able to upload that by tomorrow. So be on the lookout for the Extreme Rules review. We got a big show to talk about. In our first story, we are going to be talking about the Sammy Guevara and Andrade incident. This thing is ridiculously getting out of hand, and it goes to show you the backstage drama that is going on in AEW, man. The backstage drama in AEW, at this point, I stated this when I was talking about the Punk stuff, and I even tweeted this out, man. The AEW locker room is like a fucking war zone. The locker room is insane, man. There's this person having beef with this person. It's at this point, it's gone to the point where it's just absolutely laughable, embarrassing, and childish. That's just what I believe. But let's talk about this whole Sammy Guevara and Andrade incident. So there was allegedly a backstage fight that happened before Dynamite went on the air this past Wednesday. So according to TMZ, yes, TMZ reported this shit, so that's how crazy the story is. AEW stars Sammy Guevara and Andrade were just involved in a backstage altercation, sources tell TMZ Sports, and Andrade has been sent home. We're told that the incident happened backstage at an AEW Dynamite show at the Entertainment and Sports Arena in Washington, D.C. Wednesday night. Sources tells us words were exchanged and then things turned physical. Sammy alleged pushed Andrade and punches were thrown, according to our sources. It's unclear if anyone was hit. Our sources were adamant that the altercation was not part of an AEW storyline. Literally at this point, they would take like real life angles and just turn them into storylines at this point. It's funny as shit. Our sources are adamant that the altercations was not part of an AEW storyline. As for the reason for the fight, the guys have been in intense beef that spilled over on social media. On Tuesday, the wrestlers went back and forth on Twitter. Our sources say several wrestlers are pissed at Sammy Guevara for publicly airing personal/private issues, and the things just boiled over at the arena. Literally, it's everything that's going on. Like, Sammy Guevara is always involved with bullshit. Andrade posted somewhat of a cryptic message on social media, on Twitter. He posted this photo that stated, "Respect me and I will respect you." Now, there was more information that came out after, the incident went down. Apparently, the TMZ report was Andrade's side of the story. And on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez discussed everything that they had heard in the wake of Sammy Guevara and Andrade's backstage skirmish on Wednesday that resulted in the latter being sent home. Following their back and forth on Twitter this week after an Andrade interview where he said he had an issue with Guevara, Meltzer said both men were talked to on Tuesday and were told no fighting or else both will be sent home. In Andrade's case, he was told that he will not be fired if he got into a fight. Both agreed and said that there would be no issues. Meltzer said that he got 5 different accounts of what happened, 3 of which were identical with the 4th pretty close to the other 3. The consistent story is that Guevara did not throw any punches or fight back even after Andrade punched him, possibly a sucker punch according to what Meltzer and Alvarez heard. One account had Andrade spinning Guevara around, Guevara then pushing him and Andrade punching him. Meltzer said that he had heard that Andrade was waiting in the hallway for Guevara and got 2 punches in before it was even broken up. He noted that despite the punches, Guevara didn't have any remarks on him for his main event match on Wednesday's Dynamite. While Andrade's side was originally reported by TMZ, both Meltzer and Alvarez noted that if Guevara threw the first punch, he had indeed fought Guevara, he wouldn't have worked the main event with Chris Jericho against Daniel Garcia and Bryan Danielson. Andrade was sent home. There was no word on what AEW's plans to do with him now. It was also noted that he is under contract for several more years and that there is speculation that he would like to return to WWE, part of the reason for this behavior this week. All right, this whole oh my god, this whole drama is at this point, and I stated this earlier, it's laughable. It's ridiculously laughable. So all right, what to think of this whole story? This whole story is, again, embarrassing, childish, and laughable. This is funny as shit, but at the same time, it's ridiculously stupid. So Sammy Guevara and Andrade got into a backstage altercation, correct? And apparently, Sammy Guevara, the whole gist of the story was Sammy Guevara was pissed off at the fact that Andrade went on an interview and stated that, Sammy Guevara, he had a problem with it because I wrestled too stiff. So Sammy Guevara had a problem with Andrade because he wrestled, quote unquote, too stiff. That is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard a wrestler have a problem with. And this is towards Sammy Guevara, by the way, I might add. I think Andrade has, kind of, in a way, every reason to be angry. But at the same time, man, Sammy Guevara is always, the advent of trouble. This guy would always, get in trouble when it comes to AEW, man. This guy, recently had, some sort of altercation with Eddie Kingston because apparently Sammy Guevara called him fat and all that stuff, and Eddie Kingston was the one that got suspended. It's a ridiculous stupidity. And, look, for Guevara to be absolutely angry at the fact that Andrade, wrestles too stiff is one of the dumbest things I've ever heard because, number one, you're a pro wrestler, and number two, you want to put on a show for the audience. So if, Andrade even stated in the interview, he stated in Spanish, if I hit you hard, I want you to hit me back hard. It's dumb stuff like this. And the fact that this whole issue spewed on social media with Sammy Guevara actually instigating the whole problem, that goes to show you a lot on what goes on in the AEW locker room. What are my thoughts? This is stupid. It's ridiculous. Now, when the TMZ story came out, it was actually stated that Andrade was the one that was sent home. And a lot of people were angry at the fact that Andrade was sent home and Sammy Guevara wasn't. But the follow-up story showed that Andrade was the one that hit first and Sammy tried to, duck him out. But Sammy is, look, let's be honest, Sammy Guevara is just as guilty because he loves instigating fucking problems. Let's be honest. Sammy Guevara is so pissed off that Andrade wrestles too stiff. Meanwhile, he does a botched 630 in a ladder match against Scorpio Sky. I mean, this guy constantly does these meaningless flips, and the crowd knows it. The crowd knows it because when he was actually wrestling the match in the main event with, of course, teaming up with Jericho and wrestling Danielson and Garcia, Sammy Guevara tried to do all these crazy high spots to the point where he constantly got booed out of the building from the audience. So the audience knows what the hell is going on. But again, man, this whole situation, at the end of the day, is stupid, and it shouldn't even happen. Now, a lot of people are saying that Andrade wants to, leave WWE. I mean, not WWE, AEW, and he's trying to get fired. That's what Meltzer is stating. Apparently, Meltzer is stating that he is trying to get fired, and he has years left on his AEW contract. Look, if Andrade does not want to be there, let him go. Okay, if he does not want to be there, let him go. In the case of Sammy Guevara, I don't care what anybody says, but like I think there should be some sort of punishment for Sammy Guevara as well, because he was the one that in a way kind of instigated this whole problem, this whole issue, because Andrade just went on an interview and just stated his opinion. He just stated his opinion, saying that I just had a problem with, Sammy Guevara because he got mad at me because I wrestled too stiff, but like, I wrestled Sheamus and Sheamus loves wrestling stiff and all that stuff. That's what Andrade was saying in the interview, and Sammy just goes off on Twitter. The worst thing you could do is go off on Twitter. That's one of the dumbest things, Sammy Guevara would do. But yeah, man, what should be done? Honestly, man, there needs to be some order in the locker room. And I know, look, this shit happens everywhere in the wrestling business. This even happens in the WWE. It's very much true. It happens in the WWE as well. But the key difference is, at least in the WWE locker room, there's fucking order there. Whether, as in AEW, there's no order there. There's just people just doing whatever the hell. We had the whole CM Punk drama with the Young Bucks and the Elite, everybody, in that media scrum. He was literally sat next to Tony Khan in front of all the press and just went off, which is the worst thing you could possibly do. It's a PR disaster. Not only that, you had the whole issue with Jamie Hayter, Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa. Apparently, Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa do not like each other. We had the whole Eddie Kingston thing, with Sammy Guevara, and now this story. Look, this whole thing completely overshadowed a great episode of Dynamite. That's all I'm going to say about this. But there needs to be some order in the AEW locker room, and I think this whole situation is petty bullshit, and it's fucking stupid on both parties. More on Sammy Guevara, because Sammy Guevara, let's be honest, look, I feel like Andrade is more of the professional and Sammy Guevara is more like the child, but I mean, let's be honest, on both parties, it's a ridiculous and petty situation that I do not know why we're sitting here talking about this stuff. It's absolutely ridiculously stupid. All right, so that was the whole Andrade and Sammy Guevara story. And my apologies if there's a little bit of lag. I have a bunch of stuff open right here on my computer. So if there's any lag on the video, my apologies. But the audio is totally fine. But in our next story, we got Jon Moxley. Yes, Jon Moxley has signed an extension with All Elite Wrestling. This is fantastic news for fans of Jon Moxley. Of course, I am a fan of Jon Moxley. Let's be honest right now. Jon Moxley is at the top of his game. Of course, he is the current AEW World Champion, defeating Bryan Danielson at Grand Slam a couple of weeks ago. According to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, Jon Moxley, I'm reading a tweet from Sean Ross Sapp, by the way. Jon Moxley has signed an extension with AEW for 5 years and will expand his role into mentoring and coaching. And he also posted the press release that AEW put out. So Jon Moxley signs a 5-year extension. AEW CEO, GM, and head of creative Tony Khan announced that AEW World Champion Jon Moxley has signed a 5-year contract extension. This ensures that one of professional wrestling's top stars will remain in All Elite Wrestling through 2027 while expanding his responsibilities to including mentoring and coaching talent. Moving forward, Moxley will work exclusively for AEW and its international partners, including New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he is a 2-time IWGP United States Heavyweight Champion. Moxley has had an incredible run in 2022, most recently recapturing the AEW World Championship at AEW Dynamite Grand Slam against Bryan Danielson, pitting the Blackpool Combat Club's top stars against one another for the grandest prize in professional wrestling. He defends the AEW World Championship next against Hangman Adam Page in his hometown of Cincinnati, Ohio, October 18th on a special Tuesday night edition of AEW Dynamite live on TBS at 8 p.m. Eastern. Moxley will kick off the action on tonight's live episode of AEW Rampage, the first night of year 4 of AEW on TNT at 10 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. Central. Jon Moxley is on the best run of his already legendary career, and this 5-year extension ensures that he will not only he was not only here for AEW's meteoric rise, but also remains a key part of sustained success we are witnessing just days after the 3-year anniversary show for AEW Dynamite, said Tony Khan. Jon is a great world champion for us and his third reign. His wrestling mind is inevitable, and our roster is lucky to have the opportunity to utilize him as a mentor and a coach as we continue to build the stars of today and tomorrow. I love AEW in the spirit of both the company and its fans, said Jon Moxley. I cherish our shared position for the sport of professional wrestling, and I'm going to dedicate everything I have in mind, body, and spirit to helping AEW to be the best it can be going forward. So that was the press release that AEW put out, of course, announcing the contract extension with Jon Moxley. Overall thoughts on this, man. This is a fantastic move on AEW's part. With all the drama going on in AEW, getting to re-sign Jon Moxley is definitely a big positive for them. The reason why I say that is because of the fact that I believe that, AEW, in a way, has kind of been struggling when it came to its backstage atmosphere. And, of course, with Cody Rhodes leaving, a lot of people, including myself, were even speculating, look, once Jon Moxley is, done with AEW, he's going to eventually come back to the WWE. And he's not going to come back to the WWE as Dean Ambrose. He's going to come back to the WWE as Jon Moxley. That's what he's going to come back on. But it looks like that is no longer going to be the case. And honestly, kudos to Jon Moxley for actually, re-signing with AEW, because at this point right now he is on the run of a lifetime. And I genuinely believe that, he definitely deserves all the money that he gets. And I genuinely think that, Moxley, everybody talks about who is the face of AEW. Everybody talks about Cody Rhodes or Kenny Omega or the Elite. Without the Elite, there is no AEW. But let's be honest with ourselves. Jon Moxley is the current face of AEW. He is. He is the face of AEW, and I don't think there's anybody close to him. Maybe MJF, but Jon Moxley right now is the face of the company. When you think AEW, in my eyes at least, I think of guys like MJF, but I also think of guys like Jon Moxley. And Jon Moxley held AEW on his back throughout the entirety of the summer. When CM Punk was out in his first injury, he, of course, was the AEW Interim World Champion. He actually defeated CM Punk twice. Actually, no. He defeated CM Punk once and then lost it all out. But then, of course, the whole bullshit happened with CM Punk and all that stuff. But again, man, Jon Moxley re-signing for 5 years is definitely a positive for the company. And we're going to see a bunch of Jon Moxley in the near future. So kudos to AEW for actually managing to re-sign Jon Moxley. And look, who knows? Maybe there can be more guys that can re-sign with the company. Maybe guys like Chris Jericho. Who knows? But overall, this is a great move on AEW's part. All right. So in our next story, we're going to be talking about, let me just pull up the screen. Literally, everything is like just lagging right here. But yeah, man, we're going to be talking about these ticket sales that AEW is facing, because there was a report coming out that AEW's show ticket sales have not been good at all. They have not been good whatsoever. So I'm reading this from WrestleTalk. The link will be in the description below. AEW is currently facing brutal ticket sales for upcoming live shows, despite an eventful few weeks, both on and off screen. The promotion has a number of notable events coming up. Dave Meltzer has commented on the ticket sales figures for several tapings in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, including the October 5th Dynamite anniversary show in Washington, D.C., which actually happened this past Wednesday. So, breaking down the numbers, Meltzer wrote, and I quote, "The upcoming advances do not tell a good story at all. The 10-5 Dynamite in Washington, D.C. is at 2,265, and the 10-7 Rampage / Battle of the Belts is in the same building at 1,988. They noted that D.C. is the anniversary show in the same city for the first Dynamite, in which the first Dynamite aired, which did more than 14,000 fans and sold out instantly." Now, the first Dynamite was in Washington, D.C., but you need to realize that the first Dynamite was in the Capital One Arena, whereas this past week's Dynamite and Rampage / Battle of the Belts was in the Entertainment and Sports Arena, which is a much smaller arena than Capital One. So, yes, the ticket sales are very low, but you also need to take into a factor that, it's a much smaller arena. The hope is that the great atmosphere in the Arthur show would get live business back on track, but that hasn't shown up yet. The 10-12 Dynamite in Toronto is basically sold out for 6,783, but the Rampage show at 10-13 is at 4,853. part of this may be that Rampage isn't on television in Canada, so its name value is nil, but the demand for Dynamite was off the chart and was an immediate sellout, but the people turned away, could have gotten Rampage tickets, and chose not to. The 10/18 for the Tuesday night show in Cincinnati, Ohio, with Jon Moxley versus Adam Page is at 3,053 at the Heritage Bank Center, which is not good at all. The 10/21 Rampage in Jacksonville is at 2,250. The 10/26 in Norfolk is at 2,217, which is way down from the last show. The 10/28 in on Cassville at the Mohegan Sun Casino is at 3,768 tickets sold. The 11/12 in Baltimore is at 1,525, which shocks me for that market. The 11/4 in Atlantic City, New Jersey is at 776, which is not good at all. Because I believe, they had a sellout for the last time they were in Atlantic City. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that was months ago. So having that number at 776 is not good whatsoever. Especially since they did 5,500 paid and 5,900 in the building in February in the same arena. The 11/9 in Boston is at 2,322, about half of what it was in the same building last time they were there, and Boston has sold out every prior AEW show very quickly. And of course, we got Full Gear coming up at Prudential Center, which that show is almost, in a way, almost close to a sellout. They're like at 9,000 something tickets. They have like 12,000 tickets available, which I already got my ticket. Now, I'm be honest, I got good ass seats for that show. I'm definitely excited for Full Gear. I'm going to be attending Full Gear. Now, I actually did not get my tickets for the Rampage show yet, but I knew for a fact that the Rampage show was not going to sell out, so I'm just waiting on my time. But I definitely did get those Full Gear tickets. They're selling quick, but they didn't sell out yet. So what is the takeaway for these AEW ticket sales? These ticket sales are not good. Let's be honest with ourselves. These ticket sales are not good. Now, granted, for some of these shows, it's going to be in November, so that's in a couple of weeks, so they still have time to sell more tickets. But let's be honest, and I hate using this word because it's a word that is constantly thrown on a constant basis. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to use it. But the honeymoon period is over. It's been over for over a year. So for people saying that the honeymoon period is already over, it's been over already. So I don't know why people are saying that now. But look, with all the hype that Triple H and WWE is having right now with the new management and all that stuff, look, WWE right now is hot. AEW is not. But I'm not saying that against AEW. I think AEW still delivers a fantastic product. Is it perfect? No, but I think they still deliver a strong product overall. But again, that doesn't shy away from the fact that these ticket sales are very poor. So what is AEW going to be doing when it comes to these ticket sales? I have no idea. They have more time for these tickets to sell. But again, these are not good ticket sales at all whatsoever. And, we're just going to have to wait and see. Like Arthur Ashe Stadium, they did not sell out Arthur Ashe Stadium this year. If you compare it to last year, they completely sold out Arthur Ashe Stadium. But the main difference is that they actually made more money this year when compared to last year. Because this year, they actually had the first $1 million gate when it came to Arthur Ashe Stadium. So they sold less tickets but made more money because the demand, or actually not the demand, but the pricing for the tickets were much higher. So they made more money even though they sold less tickets, which is a very smart business move to do. But again, these ticket sales are not good whatsoever, and hopefully they get back on track when it comes to these ticket sales. And I believe the next pay-per-view for AEW, Revolution is going to be at the Cow Palace, so hopefully they can get a lot of tickets for that show as well. All right, and oh my God, this lagging is ridiculous. Jesus Christ, I don't understand the point of this lagging. You guys see this right here? All right. Hopefully we can get back on track when it comes to this lagging. I have so many things opened, so my apologies if I'm lagging a lot on this episode. Hopefully this is something I can fix in the near future. OBS is literally bugging on me. But Bandido, we're going to be talking about Bandido. Bandido has not signed an AEW contract, but was offered one, and he also confirms an offer that was made by WWE. So Fightful reported, and I'm reading this from F4W Online, by the way. Fightful reported Wednesday that Bandido has agreed to terms with Dave Meltzer, later confirming that he had signed the deal. But on Thursday, Meltzer reported that he was incorrect and that a source close to the Mexican star told him that he had not signed a deal yet. The 27-year-old was offered a contract immediately following his AEW debut 8 days ago against Ring of Honor champion Chris Jericho, which was a fantastic match, by the way, and Bandido looked absolutely amazing. That spot where Bandido picked up Chris Jericho and held him up for like 50-something seconds was amazing. But so he was offered a contract. In an interview with Masalucha, Bandido said that he was still in talks with AEW, but also confirmed that he received an offer from WWE as well. In this interview, Bandido said that AEW head Tony Khan and Jericho pulled him aside after the match and tried to convince him to sign with Khan, allegedly saying that he didn't want Bandido in AEW, but I need you in AEW. He also said AEW is likely where he will end up. So he did get an offer from WWE. I'm not honestly surprised. After that match with Chris Jericho, WWE would be absolutely foolish not to give him an offer. But, kudos to Bandido, man. Bandido definitely, I feel like, his stock is already up, but his stock just raised even higher, after that match with Chris Jericho. Of course, he's a former Ring of Honor World Champion. He dropped the belt to Jonathan Gresham this past, I believe, April at Supercard of Honor. But Bandido, most likely he will be ending up in AEW, which I definitely do see him ending up as well. I think Bandido is a great get for AEW as well. Now, we do not know the future plans when it comes to Ring of Honor. I believe I do got a story of Ring of Honor later on in this show. But when it comes to Bandido, man, Bandido is definitely a great get for AEW, and not only that, for Ring of Honor as well. So, the athleticism of Bandido and the way, he carries himself, Bandido deserves all the money that he gets, and, kudos to Bandido, especially after that match against Chris Jericho, which was a fantastic match, by the way. I will say this about Chris Jericho, man. Chris Jericho, at his age, is doing fantastic work. Tony Khan would constantly state in interviews that, Chris Jericho right now is like, his current run right now is probably one of his best runs, and I have to agree. I think what he's doing with the ROH World Title is absolutely fantastic. The story of him, wanting to desecrate the legacy of Ring of Honor is a really good story as well. But man, Bandido, he hasn't signed an AEW contract yet, but was definitely offered one and will definitely, most likely, sign with the company. All right. In our next story, we're going to be talking a little bit about Ring of Honor. Dave Meltzer thinks that Warner Brothers Discovery is holding up a new Ring of Honor television show. And again, this lagging is absolutely getting out of hand. Again, my apologies for the viewers watching this video. I'm going to try my best. But at least the audio is not affected, but the video lagging is ridiculous. I have so much stuff opened. But in an interview with Wrestling Inc., Dave Meltzer spoke about why he believes Tony Khan hasn't started a new Ring of Honor television show, noting that Warner Brothers Discovery may be holding things up. He said, and I quote, "I think we're waiting on a television deal. I don't know how easy it is. It's probably not easy to get it at this stage, but I think that's what it is. And until then, he's trying to keep it alive on television, putting championship matches and things like that on. I think it's more Warner Brothers Discovery trying to figure out what it's doing next. I don't think it's so much the rights deal as the company is doing so many cut costs. So agreeing to add costs is something that they're probably putting off." All right, so that was the quote by Dave Meltzer. We honestly do not know what is going on with Ring of Honor. Now, Tony Khan has constantly stated in interviews, because this is a question that Tony Khan is constantly asked all the time, and I can't blame if you're asking him that question, because Tony Khan, of course, purchased ROH, and he plans to run it as a separate entity. And, of course, we're having a bunch of these ROH championship matches on television. But we do not know when television is going to be starting with Ring of Honor. I do think a television deal is on the horizon. I think it's a matter of, when, not if. But at the same time, Dave Meltzer saying Warner Brothers Discovery is holding things up, that may not be far-fetched, considering the fact that, if you guys have heard, Warner Brothers Discovery is cutting a bunch of shit. They are cutting a bunch of DC projects, a lot of stuff. Now, granted, AEW has not really been affected by this because of the fact that Warner Brothers Discovery is actually in good graces with AEW. But again, right now, Ring of Honor, in a way, does kind of have a deal with Warner Brothers Discovery because, of course, they had the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view on Bleacher Report Live because Supercard was not on Bleacher Report. It was actually on Fight TV. But the Death Before Dishonor pay-per-view that happened in July was actually on Bleacher Report. So, I believe they will be having another pay-per-view. I believe they're going to be having Final Battle. We do not know when. But again, we're just going to have to wait and see. But a television deal definitely should be needed for Ring of Honor because of the fact, look, you have a lot of people on social media in the IWC stating that, there's too much Ring of Honor on television. I'm going to be the one to put my foot down and say this. It's not AEW's choice to put Ring of Honor there. They have to put Ring of Honor there. If their plan is wanting to run Ring of Honor, separately from AEW and want a television deal for Ring of Honor, they have to build up Ring of Honor and give it more notoriety on television. That's why you're seeing a bunch of Ring of Honor segments on television, and that's why Chris Jericho is the world champion, because he wants to raise the stock of Ring of Honor. So it makes total sense for them to have a bunch of Ring of Honor matches on television. So the brand is somewhat alive, but it's going to be fully revived maybe in the next couple months. We do not know, but I will agree with this. Ring of Honor needs a television deal ASAP. They need that television deal ASAP because you can't have a bunch of shit happening on Dynamite and Rampage. There needs to be some sort of flow, and the shows are flowing really well. I'm just saying there's just too much of everything that's happening on the show, and you kind of need to dim that down a bit. So once Ring of Honor gets a television deal, half of that roster will go to Ring of Honor. That's all I'm going to say about that. But that's in a way, somewhat update or statement by Dave Meltzer on Ring of Honor. All right. We got the latest update on Jeff Hardy. We got a hearing set later for this month. As you guys know, Jeff Hardy is currently suspended from AEW. Of course, earlier this year, he got busted for DUI once again. PW Insider reports that Jeff Hardy has a pretrial hearing for his DUI charges in Florida on October 19th. His legal team previously waived the right for a speedy trial and wanted a hearing in July, pushed back 60 days to prepare for his defense. This is the rescheduled hearing. As for AEW, Hardy is still signed, but will not return from his suspension until his legal situation is fixed, and he has not shown that he can. He has shown that he can maintain sobriety. He has been in treatment for a while after his arrest earlier this year. All the best wishes to Jeff Hardy. Look, the situation that Jeff Hardy went through was absolutely terrible, man. DUI is no joke. Him getting arrested for DUI is absolutely terrible, but hopefully, he can get back on his feet, get better, and, definitely, get back on track. But as of right now, Jeff Hardy, he will return to AEW, but, it's going to take a little while. All right. Now onto the WWE side of things. We got a lot of things to talk about. There's going to be a Vince McMahon documentary to air on Vice TV in October. It's going to basically talk about, the history of Vince McMahon and, what led him to be let go. Not let go, but led him to resign from the WWE. So I'm reading this from F4W Line. Again, the link will be in the description below. A documentary on Vince McMahon is set to be released next month. I believe the date is going to be on the same night where NXT and Dynamite are going to be going head-to-head on that Tuesday. I believe it's October 18th. Vice TV is currently working on the project according to a report of PW Insider, and it will air sometime in October. The documentary will focus on McMahon's career as well as the hush money scandal broken by the Wall Street Journal that led to his resignation from WWE. Our own Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez were both interviewed for this film. There are several other projects in the works as well. HBO Real Sports is said to be working on a segment focused on McMahon. Last month, Meltzer reported that Netflix was still developing a 4-part docuseries on the former WWE chairman, with Chris Smith serving as director and executive producer. It is not clear if Bill Simmons is still involved with the series. A biography on Vince McMahon titled Ringmaster is currently being written by Abe Reisman, I believe that's his name as well, and it's set to be released in March. This is the documentary that Vice TV is actually going to be airing this documentary, and the majority of it is done, and the title is going to be called The 9 Lives of Vince McMahon. So this is definitely going to be a very interesting documentary. I believe it's what it's going to be. It's going to be very interesting, and it's going to be airing head-to-head against NXT and Dynamite because, of course, that's going to be October 18th, I believe, and that's going to be when Dynamite and NXT once again go head-to-head, which you guys know what I'm going to be watching. I'm going to be watching Dynamite, of course, but this whole thing with Vince McMahon, this is airing on Vice, and of course Vice is known for the Dark Side of the Ring docuseries, which I love. Dark Side of the Ring. A lot of people do not like it, and somewhat Dark Side of the Ring it kind of became a meme, especially after the media scrum, which is hilarious. But I loved Dark Side of the Ring. Dark Side of the Ring was absolutely fantastic. Really interesting stories. Stories that you already knew. For example, the plane ride from hell was a story I already knew about. We had the Chris Benoit episodes. Very interesting topics. Very sad topics and interesting topics as well. There was an episode on XPW as well. A lot of episodes that Dark Side of the Ring did. Brian Pillman. All those episodes were fantastic. So I'm very excited to see what they're going to be talking about when it comes to the 9 Lives of Vince McMahon. And also, Dave Meltzer and Brian Alvarez are also going to be on this documentary as well. So they were interviewed for it. So this is going to be definitely interesting. Now, I do not have Vice, but I will be watching it online. So that's going to be a very interesting watch. All right. So we got our commentary changes. We got commentary changes for WWE on Raw, SmackDown, and NXT, which I do not watch. So on Monday Night Raw, now this is reported by Variety. Variety was the ones that reported this story. Beginning on Monday Night Raw, or I should say on SmackDown, Michael Cole and Wade Barrett will be the main commentators, of course. Pat McAfee is currently doing stuff for college football, but once the season is over, he's going to be coming back. But I think Michael Cole and Wade Barrett, being a part of the SmackDown, especially Wade Barrett, that's a great move. Wade Barrett is fantastic on commentary. I'm a big fan of his voice, and he definitely knows what he's talking about. And him with Michael Cole, I think there's going to be some fantastic chemistry. Now, when Pat McAfee comes back, is it going to be a 3-man booth or is it going to be a 2-man booth? We're going to have to wait and see, but the new commentary team on SmackDown is going to be Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. For Monday Night Raw, it's going to be Kevin Patrick and Corey Graves. Jimmy Smith is no longer working for WWE, and Byron Saxton has been moved to a backstage role, which is great. I was never the biggest fan of Byron Saxton, nothing personal, but I thought Byron Saxton sucked. I was not the biggest fan of Byron Saxton. Jimmy Smith, I'm kind of mixed on Jimmy Smith. I was not really the biggest fan of his, but he wasn't bad. Now, granted, there would be times where he would botch a couple of moves, and you would have Corey Graves kind of call him out on shit. But, he was fine. He was much better than Adnan Virk. This is the thing I hated about the previous administration. They would always, they did this all the time. They would hire people that knew nothing about wrestling and have him be the main play-by-play commentator for the show. That was the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But, Jimmy Smith I was not really the biggest fan of Jimmy Smith, but Kevin Patrick, I'm not really the biggest fan of him either. I'm not a fan of his backstage interview reviews. He has been doing commentary for WWE Main Event, but honestly, I'm not really the biggest Kevin Patrick guy. Now, I'm going to, wait until Monday to see if he's actually really good, but I'm not going to be, that hyped up for Kevin Patrick. And on NXT, Booker T and Vic Joseph are going to be on commentary. So for you guys that watch NXT, that's going to be, very interesting for you guys. I do not watch NXT, so I honestly could care less. But yeah, man, those are going to be the new commentary teams. Really, the best commentary team at this point is going to be Michael Cole and Wade Barrett. That is by far the best commentary team so far. But yeah, man, it is what it is. But they couldn't get Mauro Ranallo. I still think AEW needs to get Mauro Ranallo because he's like the best, commentator right now in all of wrestling. Now, I don't think he's not doing wrestling now. He's doing MMA, but, overall, man, they got to sign Mauro Ranallo, man. They just have to. They have to sign Mauro Ranallo. Not only that, I even, came up with the assumption like, dude, they should sign Mike Tenay. Now, I don't know if Mike Tenay is still active, he's a little older now, but like I think Mike Tenay would do great in a WWE role. So I don't know why they couldn't get like somebody like a Mike Tenay, but it is what it is. Those are your new commentary teams. All right, Let's briefly recap this past week's pro wrestling television. First, we're going to be starting off with Monday Night Raw. Dakota Kai defeated Candice LeRae. Bobby Lashley defeated Mustafa Ali via the Hurt Lock, which was a great match, by the way. It made Mustafa Ali look absolutely strong. Judgment Day beat AJ Styles and Rey Mysterio, which is a great match. Of course, they're leading to possibly, a feud between Finn Balor and AJ Styles, or maybe AJ Styles eventually, joining the Judgment Day. We're going to have to wait and see. We had the Matt Riddle and Seth Rollins segment, their face-to-face segment before their, of course, fight pit match at Extreme Rules tonight. And, of course, Daniel Cormier is going to be the special enforcer or referee for this match. He did interfere, there was a video package that aired. Basically, it was a pre-taped vignette of him trying to, get order, which is kind of cringe. But, in a way, it kind of did take away from the segment, but overall, the segment was totally fine. Otis beats Johnny Gargano. Braun Strowman beats Chad Gable. Solo Sikoa defeated Angelo Dawkins via pinfall. And, of course, we had Io Sky versus Alexa Bliss in the main event, which was not really that good of a match, but it was what it was. Overall, Raw was a fine show. We had AEW Dynamite. Dynamite was a fantastic show. Now, a lot of people can say that it was overshadowed due to the drama that is going on with Andrade and Sammy Guevara, which I already talked about. If you guys haven't talked about it, you guys can, backtrack this whole podcast. But let's look at the results. MJF defeated Wheeler Yuta in a fantastic opening match on the show. Very, very, very good match. A lot of people talked about how MJF and Wheeler Yuta had bangers on the independent scene, and MJF and Yuta definitely delivered a banger opening match on Dynamite. After the match, of course, you had Wheeler Yuta wanting to shake hands with MJF, but then out of nowhere, you had Lee Moriarty from Stokely Hathaway's Firm faction attack him from behind, which would then lead to MJF getting so pissed off at him. And actually, what happened was Stokely Hathaway came in, and MJF was just furious. And are they teasing a babyface turn for MJF? Honestly, I do not know, but it kind of looks like they are. But we're going to have to wait and see what they do. Again, MJF is definitely slated to win the World Championship. My guess is that they're going to be doing Moxley versus MJF at Full Gear. That's just me. Darby Allin defeated Jay Lethal. They kind of did something similar as well, in which Darby Allin shook the hand of Jay Lethal. Are they teasing a babyface turn with Jay Lethal as well? We're going to have to wait and see. Hangman Page defeated Roosh. Wardlow faced Brian Cage for the TNT Championship, and Wardlow defeated Brian Cage. Finally, Wardlow is doing something on television. Brian Cage hasn't been on television in fucking ages, so it's great to see him. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. Wardlow's TNT Championship run has been somewhat of a disappointment. I genuinely think that was the case because he's not doing anything as TNT champion. Look, one of the things that sucked about AEW this year alone was the picture on the TNT title scene. The TNT title scene has been atrocious. That feud with Sammy Guevara and Scorpio Sky has been one of the worst feuds, if not the worst feud in AEW this year. It was terrible. And, Wardlow winning the TNT Championship, it's great, but let's be honest, I think his run was not really that good. It's not that good. But I will say, the match that he had with Brian Cage was definitely fantastic, and he also, Brian Cage and Wardlow, they definitely looked strong in that match, but Wardlow retains the TNT Championship. Luchasaurus squashes a jobber. We had National Scissoring Day with the Acclaimed. Of course, the Acclaimed are your new AEW World Tag Team Champions. That was a fantastic segment. And by the way, happy late National Scissoring Day, ladies and gentlemen. They are fantastic. They're super over with the crowd. Swerve Strickland, of course, came out and he got nuclear heat. Swerve Strickland is a fantastic heel. There's one thing that Swerve Strickland is good at, and he knows how to make you hate him. He's a fantastic heel, and of course, next week we got Daddy Ass Billy Gunn facing Swerve Strickland next week on Dynamite. Athena, Willow Nightingale, and the AEW Interim Women's Champion Toni Storm beat Jamie Hayter, Penelope Ford, and Serena Deeb in a great match. And in the main event, we had Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara defeating Bryan Danielson and Daniel Garcia, which was a dumb move in my opinion. First off, Sammy Guevara was the one that got the pinfall, which I wouldn't have done, especially due to the current circumstances that is going on between him and Andrade. Not only that, Daniel Garcia was the one that got pinned which was dumb and stupid as well. So that was, the match was fantastic. And look, if you're trying to establish Bryan Danielson and Garcia, maybe if this was like a one-time thing, I would have had them win the match. I don't know why you would have Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara win, but in a way, I kind of get it. You know, Jericho was not going to get pinned at all. They're trying to establish Jericho as the ROH champion. And the story that they're telling with Chris Jericho, you know, trying to decimate the legacy of Ring of Honor, in a way, it kind of makes sense. But again, I don't agree with the finish of Sammy Guevara getting the pinfall, and especially pinning the pure champion Daniel Garcia. I thought that was a dumb move on their part, in my opinion. But overall, Dynamite was a great show. I enjoyed Dynamite for what it was. The main event was great. The finish was not good. MJF and Wheeler Yuta delivered a fantastic match, and I'm definitely excited what they're going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. Of course, we got Hangman Page versus Jon Moxley for the World Championship in 2 weeks in Cincinnati on that special Tuesday night episode of Dynamite. And of course, we are on the road to Full Gear. Let's talk about the SmackDown season premiere. We got the Roman Reigns segment and Logan Paul segments. It was a pretty fine segment. You know, you had, Paul Heyman comparing everybody. He was talking about, all these people, like your Ben Shapiro's and all that stuff. I'm not going to state my opinion on that. Paul Heyman just doesn't give a shit what he says on the microphone. It was a fine segment. Am I excited for Crown Jewel? Not really, but it is what it is. Solo Sikoa defeated Ricochet. Legado del Fantasma made their debut attacking Hit Row, so they're finally on the main roster, and Selena Vega is now a part of the faction, which is great. So that's a great addition. I'm a big fan of Legado del Fantasma. I'm a big fan of Santos Escobar. Santos Escobar is absolutely fantastic at what he does. He's a great pro wrestler. We got Shotzi and Raquel Rodriguez defeating Sonya Deville and Xia Li in a nothing match. Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross, of course, have been brawling, and this was no different. Of course, they have the strap match tonight at Extreme Rules, which is going to be off the charts. The White Rabbit, yes, the White Rabbit. We got another QR code, and it was on the microphone of Triple H when he opened up the show, and it stated, "Let me in." The clues that we have been getting, man. One thing I will say about this whole White Rabbit thing is the fact that, it is by far the most creative thing I have ever seen in my years watching pro wrestling, because it's having the fans guess who it is. They're having the fans constantly guess who it is. And let's be honest, it's most likely going to be Bray Wyatt. It's Bray Wyatt. They basically confirmed it was Bray Wyatt. There was also a commercial that aired of the White Rabbit saying tomorrow, that being tonight. So most likely we're going to be having Bray Wyatt come back, which I'm definitely excited, man. This whole White Rabbit stuff is definitely compelling, and it's definitely interesting, and it's catching my eye a lot. And I love what WWE is doing with it. And look, I'm going to tell you right now, it's going to be a huge payoff when he comes back. The reaction that Bray Wyatt is going to be getting is going to be insane. We had Braun Strowman in the New Day versus the Usos and Sami Zayn. A lot of tension, of course, between Sami Zayn and Jey Uso. Roman Reigns even agreed with Sami Zayn, saying that he is a hothead. Now it's Sami's problem. So I love the story that they're telling right there, but we had the babyfaces get the win. And, of course, the main event with Gunther defeating Sheamus in the rematch for the Intercontinental Championship. Of course, we have tonight the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match between the Brawling Brutes and Imperium. That's going to be a great match tonight. I mean, look, their match at Clash at the Castle was fantastic. This match was no different. I'm going to be honest, man. We're going to have to see the rubber match, and we're going to have to see a third match between Sheamus and Gunther, a third one-on-one match. Like, Sheamus has gotten super over, like the likes of which I have never seen before, especially after that match at Clash. Dude, book that third match down the road. Let's briefly talk about Rampage and Battle of the Belts 4. Both of those shows were live. So first, the Rampage card. We had the Blackpool Combat Club, consisting of Jon Moxley, the AEW World Champion, former ROH World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, and former Pure Champion Wheeler Yuta, defeating Roosh and Private Party. Tony Nese and Josh Woods squashed the Varsity Blondes, which had Arn Anderson backstage pissed off, and dumbass smart Mark Sterling. Now he trademarked it, and now he trademarked the word varsity, and now he trademarked varsity athletes. So I believe they're now called the Varsity Athletes. What are they going to be doing with the Varsity Blondes? With Arn Anderson, I honestly see them pairing with Arn Anderson. I do not know what the hell they're going to be doing with them, but it was a normal squash match. Anna Jay and Ty Mello versus Sky Blue and Madison Rayne. I'm not really that big of a fan of Anna Jay and the Jericho Appreciation Society. That's just me. She's very cringe. but it was a fine little match. Death Triangle defeated Dark Order to retain the Trios Championships with the usage of the hammer by Pac near the end. Great match overall, fantastic match. But that wasn't the only match that Pac was wrestling at. Of course, he also defended his All-Atlantic Championship against Trent Beretta, which was a great match to open up Battle of the Belts 4. Fantastic match overall. Trent looked great. He looked definitely strong. That table spot was brutal, but Pac retains the All-Atlantic Championship using, once again, the hammer. But one thing I will say is that when he hit the hammer on Trent, I got to watch it back, but it looked like the referee saw it, but just completely ignored it. That was kind of dumb. The referees in AEW sometimes are very questionable. We got Jade Cargill defeating Willow Nightingale for the TBS Championship, and FTR defended their Ring of Honor Tag Team Championships against the Gates of Agony, which they're a part of Ring of Honor, and they got the win, of course. So overall, great week of wrestling television. Tonight we got Extreme Rules, which is going to be a great show overall, which I'm going to be giving you guys my predictions of in about right now, actually. But overall, this week in pro wrestling was great. I did not watch NXT, of course. They had the new NXT, but I'm not really that big of a fan of NXT, so I didn't watch it. But great week overall for WWE and AEW. We got Extreme Rules tonight, but we also got the GCW Fight Club show, which consists of Jon Moxley defending his GCW World title against Nick Gage. But let's go through the Extreme Rules card. So I'm going to be giving you guys my Extreme Rules predictions. So these are my Extreme Rules predictions. So we got 6 matches on this match card. Again, WWE loves focusing on quality over quantity these days when it comes to their pay-per-views, and I think definitely Extreme Rules is looking to be a great show overall. So we got Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey in an Extreme Rules match for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And one thing I will say about these particular matches that are happening at Extreme Rules is that there's stipulations on these matches, and that was something that Extreme Rules lacked for the past couple of years. You know, especially last year, there was like no Extreme Rules matches whatsoever when it came to that show. But this year, we got a bunch of stipulations. So in our first match, we got Liv Morgan versus Ronda Rousey for the SmackDown Women's title in an Extreme Rules match. My guess is Ronda Rousey will get the win. I'm not really that big of a fan of Liv Morgan as SmackDown Women's Champion overall. Nothing personal against her. I think she's a great wrestler. She's great at what she does, but I'm just not really that big of a fan of hers. Plus, I've not really been too keen on the build for this match. So who do I have winning this match? I see Ronda Rousey definitely getting the win. We got a ladder match for the Raw Women's Championship between Bianca Belair and Bayley. Overall, I think this match is going to be fantastically well. I mean, Bayley and Bianca Belair are known to have really good matches. I think right now it's time for Bianca Belair to drop the Raw Women's Championship and have it go on to Bayley. A lot of people are not really liking the damage control stuff, which I can see that. I can definitely see that, but to me it's fun. It's not bad. It's not terrible. They're trying to put a lot of effort that they can to make damage control look strong, and I think the catalyst of that is putting the Raw Women's Championship on Bayley. So who do I think is going to be winning this particular ladder match? It's definitely going to be Bayley. And she's going to be the new Raw Women's Champion. And Damage Control are going to have the women's tag team titles consisting of Dakota Kai and Io Sky. And Bayley's going to have the Raw Women's Championship. All right. We got the Fight Pit match between Seth Rollins and Matt Riddle. This is going to be a all-out war. I think it's now time for Riddle to get his win, because this is Riddle's match. I believe when it comes to the history of the Fight Pit match, Riddle hasn't won the last Fight Pit match that he had. So I think Riddle's definitely going to be getting the win. Of course, Daniel Cormier is going to be the special enforcer / referee. My thoughts on that, I mean, Daniel Cormier is a big wrestling fan, so it's not a surprise. But a lot of people were saying that, bro, they should have brought in Ken Shamrock for this match. Honestly, I wouldn't be against that idea either. I think Ken Shamrock would have fit perfectly as the referee or special enforcer, whatever you want to call it, in this match. But overall, man, Seth Rollins and Riddle are going to be delivering an absolute banger of a match. They're going to beat the living shit out of each other in this match. So who do I see winning this match? I definitely do see Matt Riddle getting the win. All right. In our next match, we got an I Quit match between Edge and Finn Balor. WWE on Raw these past couple of months have definitely been pushing Judgment Day. Of course, Dominic Mysterio is the newest member. And Judgment Day has been looking really, really strong. Who do I see winning this match? Finn Balor is definitely going to be winning this match, in my opinion. I think they're going to be delivering an absolute fantastic match as well. The build for Judgment Day, I've been a really big fan of Judgment Day as of late. I feel like they're portrayed more of as a big deal, because when Vince McMahon was still in charge, I felt like Judgment Day was kind of like off the radar and not really that good. But overall, I think Judgment Day is on a roll right now, and I think Balor is definitely going to be getting the win over Edge. Actually, honestly, since this is an I Quit match, I do not see Edge saying I quit, but it depends what they're going to be doing when it comes to the story, because this whole match is based on story. But it really depends. Edge could possibly win it, or Finn Balor. My pick is going to be Finn Balor. We got the strap match between Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross. This match, I see Karrion Kross getting the win, because Karrion Kross right now, they're definitely looking for Karrion Kross to be, a big player in the main event scene, and he's definitely getting there. But also at the same time, it raises the question on what they're going to be doing with the White Rabbit. Now, we can all agree that Bray Wyatt is the White Rabbit, but also, if you guys have been looking at the clues that they have been putting in, if you actually look at the match card graphics for Extreme Rules, when they show the match between Drew McIntyre and Karrion Kross, in the background of Karrion Kross, it shows like a messed up, television, whatever. Like it shows there's a little bit of weirdness behind Karrion Kross in that match card template. So could that raise the question of Karrion Kross or Bray Wyatt having his own faction? That could be very interesting, because Bray Wyatt on his Twitter is called Wyatt6. Maybe the faction could be called the Wyatt6. Maybe Karrion Kross has something to do with it. We do not know. But again, the White Rabbit is going to be making his return. Bray Wyatt is going to be making his return. To what capacity? What is he going to be doing? We do not know. But it's definitely confirmed that it's going to be Bray Wyatt. But when it comes to the strap match, I see Karrion Kross getting the win, and he's going to be, after that, getting the strap, and he's definitely going to fucking go to the stratosphere after that. In our main event, or I should say maybe the main event, we got the good old-fashioned Donnybrook match between Imperium, that consisted of Giovanni Vinci, Walter, and, of course, Ludwig Kaiser, wrestling the Brawlin' Brutes, of course, Pete Dunne, Rich Holland, and Sheamus. This match is going to be a banger, as Sheamus would say, or the Brawling Brutes would say. It makes total sense for this match to be a banger. And I see the Brawling Brutes getting the win, considering the fact that Gunther has gotten 2 wins over Sheamus, but I do not see Gunther getting pinned. But definitely I do see the Brawling Brutes getting the win. This match is going to be absolutely fantastic. I mean, every time, like the match that they had on Smackdown was fantastic. But was it better than their Clash match? No, but it was still that damn good. But do I think this match is going to be just as good? Absolutely. This match is going to be fantastic, and I think the Brawlin' Brutes are going to be getting the win. But yeah, that was my Extreme Rules predictions right here on the WrestleHavoc podcast. We had a lot of things to talk about right here on the show. Overall, yeah, man, there was a lot of things to discuss. We have Extreme Rules tonight. It's going to be a great show. Make sure to check out my Extreme Rules review. Hopefully I'm going to be uploading that tomorrow. But yeah, man, that was the WrestleHavoc Podcast, episode 2 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, push that bell for notifications, and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast. And follow me on social media at FlaminRick0305 on Twitter and FlaminRick0305 on Instagram. So if you guys want to check me on social media, you guys can. But as always, it is Flamin' Rick, Ricky DeRays from the WrestleHavoc Podcast, signing out.